Ross Tucker, our good buddy, he'll be busy this week. He's busy every week. He'll be in the radio booth tomorrow night, Dolphins and the Bills. And then for CBS TV on Sunday, the Colts and the Titans. He called the Browns and Ravens last Sunday. Before I get to all of that, I'm going back to an article where you were quoted. This is May of 2025, where you have concerns about Caleb Williams. And then you were asked if you thought Caleb Williams would be in Chicago for the long haul, and you said no. You still stand firm on your Caleb Williams take.
Yeah, I guess I would say I still have some significant concerns as it relates to Caleb Williams. And part of that are the things I had seen. Part of that are the things I had heard. You know, interestingly, since that radio interview, Tyler Dunn came out with an article where he spoke to a lot of people that spoke to some of the things that went on in Chicago last year that I had heard from people. So that was partially informed. But, you know, to me, Dan, it came down to a few things with Caleb Williams, right? Number one, he got sacked a lot at USC, got sacked a lot last year. Guys don't usually fix that. You know, I mean, they can get better at it, but if you're on a scale of 1 to 10, if you know, 10 being you're the best at not taking sacks, if you're a 1 or a 2 or maybe a 3, you can get to 5 or 6, but those guys don't get to 8, 9, 10, right? They're not that kind of, they don't have that kind of DNA. So that was a big part of it. But then even consistent decision-making issues, I would say, right? So the way he handled the end of the game against the Lions on Thanksgiving when the Bears were doing the right thing, call a play, run the play, then you use the timeout. He audibled, didn't realize why they were doing what they were doing, and then we ran out of time, and everybody blamed Eberflus, and Eberflus knew he couldn't throw Caleb Williams, number 1 pick, under the bus. And then even just like this stuff with he and his dad talking with Seth Wickersham and telling him how they tried to get out of there in Chicago. They didn't want to be there. I just would say, Dan, there's a lot of examples, even off the field, of questionable decision-making. And when you stack all of them on top of each other, it starts to become concerning. Like, the way I look at it is, okay, who are the other guys that are top 10 NFL quarterbacks who have some issues with in-game management, have some off-the-field issues with decision-making, whether it's their dad or them or whatever, take that many sacks. You started to stack some things, you know, and then that article comes out, by the way. This is why I got asked that, Dan, in May. That article comes out. It's the start of the Bears offseason program, and he doesn't talk to the media. It's like the first thing you have to do after an article like that comes out is just address it so it goes away. Because everybody's going to keep talking about it until you say something about it. So there's just kind of a pattern there of what I would phrase questionable decision-making.
All right, let's turn our attention to tomorrow night. And you got the Dolphins 12.5-point underdogs. Divisional rivalry game in Buffalo. This game, I expect Buffalo to win. It's the next 3 or 4 games. I think they have the Jets, they have the Panthers, they have the Browns, and they have the Chargers. Those are 3 of those games are winnable games. If they lose to Buffalo, okay. But if you lose 2 of 3 to those, subpar teams, that's when you might see a move there with Mike McDaniel as the head coach. Your thoughts?
I think that's probably accurate. There are some people speculating that because it's a Thursday night game, it's a primetime game. Dan, I always say that primetime games count like 5x in the court of public opinion, Yeah. So if it's a primetime game, everybody's watching all at the same time. If they look really bad on Thursday night, if they get blown out, then it's almost like they got a lot of time before that next game. It's almost like a mini bye. You have the whole weekend for the owner to just think about it and simmer over it. I think there is the possibility, if it's that bad on Thursday night, that they would move on from McDaniel.
Oh.
I think it's more likely that they would give him the next few games, but then that's always an interesting one too, because if the owner's already made up his mind, does he want to give him the chance to win those next couple games? The problem, as I see it, for the Dolphins is they kind of tried to put the toothpaste back in the tube a little bit. I mean, everybody knows that the players, I guess the nicest way to phrase it would say that the players had a lot of freedom or have a lot of freedom down there and with the culture. And so they tried to pull back on that a little bit and make it a little bit more restrictive. I think that's really hard to do in life, right? Like, because these players know what you've been like the last couple of years. Now all of a sudden you're going to change. So it's like, okay, so first of all, we don't really buy it. We don't really buy you're going to change. And secondly, if you're going to change, then you're not really being who you are. You're not really being authentic. It's almost like you can't win either way at that point.
But do players want to be coached by, a Dan Campbell? Or, because I'll hear, oh, he's a players coach, players manager. And then, like Terry Francona was the perfect manager in Boston until he wasn't the perfect manager. Oh, they're taking advantage of him. He's too nice of a guy. He's a player's manager. That's why they're winning. Come on, make up your mind. Do players want to be coached like Belichick or coached by Mike McDaniel?
That is such an awesome question that people don't ask enough. And part of it is why when they're doing the pre-draft process, they try to find the guys that want to be coached hard, can take criticism, and also are self-motivated, disciplined. Because you know what the truth is, Dan? I played for 5 teams. You know that. Football players are just like most people out there. A lot of football players, they'd rather have a shorter practice. They'd rather not have pads on. They'd rather not have the discipline or everybody, I think most people in society have a tendency to drift towards wanting the easier path, the easy way out. What you need to try to do is have as many guys on your team as possible that won't accept that. But I think that's the natural default for a lot of guys, and I think the Dolphins have certainly fallen into that.
Ross Tucker, CBS Sports, Westwood One. He'll be on the call tomorrow night, Westwood One Radio. Dolphins, Bills, and then Colts and the Titans coming up this weekend. You also had the Browns and the Ravens. You yelled at Joe Flacco on the broadcast with the Browns-Ravens.
I wouldn't say I yelled at him. I just said, by the way, I love Joe Flacco. Philly guy, has a house at the Jersey Shore right near me. And what I love about Joe is I think everything I said, he would say the exact same thing. I mean, he told us before the game that his harshest critics are his kids, and his 12-year-old said, the Browns are picking you to start, which I thought was amazing. But listen, if you have a guy like Flacco starting, you cannot make that decision in that throw. It was a 13-3 game. That's the way the Browns have to win. They have to be ugly, lower-scoring games. And it was a surprisingly poor decision. It was a really bad throw. It totally changed the game at that point, and the game got away from them. And what I love about Flacco is if you guys got him on the show or if he ends up being a color commentator, he'd say, that's a terrible job by me. You can't do that. His brothers would tell him that. He knows. I mean, it was just, he was getting frustrated. They weren't moving the ball that well. They weren't scoring. He got greedy, and he made a really poor choice. It happens.
If I said quarterback change with the Browns or the Giants, which one would happen first?
That's a good question. I will say the Giants because I think the Giants, they took Jackson Dart in the first round. And I think that they have more hope that they can have success with Jackson Dart. I think the Browns probably want to win a game first before they go to Dylan Gabriel. Now, he looked good on that drive, but I think deep down, in places people don't like to admit it, if the Browns switch to Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, I think that there'd be some concern, like, what if we don't win a game? What if we don't win a game? I think
but
the
do
Browns
they want to
at
win?
least get one one win on the ledger, whereas the Giants, I think, probably feel like, Dart's maybe just as good as Russell Wilson or gives them just as good of a chance to win a game right now anyway.
Do you think the Browns want to win?
I do think the Browns want to win.
Management, not players, management.
Good question. Yes, I think, it's interesting. Jimmy Haslam at one point said 3-14 is not good enough. And so what's fascinating about that is, I don't think he has delusions of grandeur. I mean, you talk to people in Cleveland and they know if everything goes well, they win 7 games, right? But I think they don't want to make their fans suffer through another season that's that bad, which makes the whole dynamic of when they bench Flacco and put in Dylan Gabriel or Shador very, very interesting. Because I think the GM Andrew Barry and the head coach Kevin Stefanski are on solid footing. I think the guy above them, Paul DePodesta, whatever his title is, I think that they take a long enough time horizon view, and they know the assets they have next year. They know they have a great rookie class that's playing very well, but all it takes is the owner to change his mind. I just don't think Stefanski and Barry would be operating in the manner that they are, playing this many rookies, trading down with the Travis Hunter trade, if they thought they really had to win this year.
The tush push has reemerged. I'm not sure why it came back up other than, I kept it alive, I should say. When, I'm having the head of, officiating from Fox, Dean Blandino on, and he says, look, I've given up. I can't officiate this. And I thought, ding, 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 ding. Now you can say that to the owners. It's hard for us to officiate this. Maybe you get those 2 other votes, and then maybe you get rid of this play this next season. My point when I watched it, Ross, is the guards jump off sides. Like they're moving before everybody else. You can call that. The one thing you can't call is the spotting of the ball. I think that's really difficult in that play. But is the tush push going away at the end of this year?
Well, number one, I don't really understand why the officials didn't call the false starts on the Eagles guards, and they should have. And then that would have changed things significantly. And let me just tell you right now, we know the NFL doesn't like the play and has pushed to remove it. So they're going to be watching those guys very, very carefully. I think this is probably the last year for it. I think when you have that prominent of a game and you have multiple false starts that aren't called, I think that would be enough probably, Dan, to convince a couple of owners to be like, what are we doing here? I mean, so that might have been a situation, right or wrong, where the Eagles kind of won the battle but lost the war. My guess is this is the last year of it. I still find it fascinating that no one else has been able to replicate it. I mean, that's the impressive thing isn't that nobody can stop it. This is a quote-unquote copycat league, right? I mean, Jonathan Gannon, Shane Steichen, Kellen Moore, all these guys are head coaches that came from Philadelphia over the last couple years, and they still can't replicate it with their teams, which then goes to show that it's not the technique as much as it's the people doing it, which isn't that, like, shouldn't that be a credit to the Eagles and not something that they try to get rid of if the Eagles have personnel that can execute something better than others?
Yeah, that's what I've said. I may not like it aesthetically, but it's football where you know what I'm going to do and you can't stop it. But if you allow the guards to be offsides, then I have a problem with that. I still just take the guy from behind Jalen Hurts out, and they'll still be successful. It's a great offensive line, and you have a quarterback who's unlike any other quarterback with his ability, with his leg strength. They'll still be great.
I'm really glad you said that, because what people don't understand is that even if they say you can't push, okay, the Eagles will still run the play looking extremely similar. You just won't have the guy come up and push them from behind. They'll still have a lot of success with it. People still won't like it stylistically. The injury risk portion of it with the O-line, D-line in those crouch, that's not changing. That's not changing.
Yeah.
The guy coming from behind and pushing the quarterback, that doesn't really change the injury risk part of it. So I don't know. I mean, they're gonna outlaw it after the year. I'm very confident. And then the Eagles will just do regular quarterback sneaks and have a lot of success.
But Dean Blandino said something yesterday that really caught my attention. He said he thinks because the Eagles won the Super Bowl that the other owners didn't want to seem like sour grapes, and then they voted against the tush push, and maybe that's why it survived. That if the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, then it doesn't come across as sour grapes, that we can't stop it, so let's get it out of the game. Whether that's, a motivating factor in the offseason, I don't know, but this is the former head of officials saying that.
Yeah, I mean, 22 voted to get rid of it. So only 10 voted to keep it, and it only takes a couple to change, and I'm sure this offseason, I mean, all they're going to have to do is show those couple guys the false starts. It's too hard to officiate it. They can't see it.
Yeah.
We can't see where the ball is. We can't see where they're lined up. I think they're probably pretty confident that they can get a couple guys to change their mind.
Josh Allen broke his nose, and he was. Have you ever had that during a game?
Never in a football game, because it's really hard to break your nose with the face mask, right? Like that's the reason why you have the face mask. Now, like backyard football, basketball one time, and like knee football one time, I broke my nose. I can still kind of feel it. So he's going to go visor, which is smart. I had to see it again to see how it actually happened, because there should not be a way in which that happened. I mean, that's the whole design of the face mask in the first place.
Have you been out there where somebody's got blood all over themselves during a game?
I don't remember blood like all over themselves. I mean, I've seen dislocated elbows where it went the wrong way. I did have two different defensive linemen spit in my face during the 2004 season. That was nice. But no, I have not. I can't remember seeing like gushing blood.
Do you say to the official, that guy just spit on me?
No, in neither instance did I do it. The one guy, Dan, it must have been right after a TV timeout, because it wasn't like spit. It was like he had a mouthful of water and he was saving it for me and spit on me and blew it all over me. Now, that guy, I think, might have been bipolar, so I wasn't messing with that guy. I had legitimate concerns about that guy. Now, the guy that did it for the Bengals, that really bothered me, and I had been with Marvin Lewis in Washington, so I was screaming at the Bengals sideline to put him back in the game so I could try to break his leg. Those are the good. So the difference is those guys didn't do it right in front of the refs. Okay, so there was no penalty, so there was no cameras. And what was I going to do after the game? I wasn't going to say anything about it after the game. Oh yeah, by the way, this guy for the Browns or this guy for the Bengals spit in my face. But that's probably a record that people don't know. How many times you get spit in the face in one season? Ross Tucker, 2004.
Congratulations.
Hey, we all have to be good and known for something.
How about a round of applause for Ross getting spit
Yeah,
on?
right.
All right.
Okay.
Nice.
Safe travels. Thank you, buddy.
Sounds great. See you guys.
That's Ross Tucker. He'll be in the radio booth, Westwood 1. It'll be Bills Dolphins tomorrow night, and then Sunday on CBS, Colts Titans. Take a break. Your phone calls next.